Hi everyone, my name's Aishi and welcome to What It Takes to Be. Today we have Miss Anju Malik with us. She is currently working as a database administrator or DBA for many years. She has worked with companies like IBM and Rackspace. If you choose technology as your major, this is one of the jobs you could be looking at. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Anju ma'am. Could you please tell us a little in detail about what a database administrator does?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here, Aishi. Before I talk about what database administrator does, let me quickly tell you what a database is. A database is a collection of data. A DBA, also known as database administrator, creates databases, maintains them, and makes sure they are secure, accessible, and available to the users.
So, what does a typical day look like for you?
A DBA generally has tasks that I outlined above that just make sure database is available, it's functioning well, whether a database requires any tuning. Sometimes when you log into a site and you see, okay, when you say that the website is loading slow or the data is taking a long time to come through the screen and all that. Uh, Everything that you use right now has data in the background. So a DBA makes sure that the data is available, it's the database is tuning is working fine, is perfectly tuned, whether a database requires any updates or any patches or any security things like that. And also during a day we also make sure whether any backups are required also or not for the databases.
Okay. So, what education or training is required?
Basically, to become a database person, not only a database administrator, to become any database person, SQL as we call that, SQL training is basic for that. That is for one that's required. Besides that, if somebody wants to become a database administrator, in addition to learning SQL, you need to learn database administration. You need to take a database administration courses. You also need to know database management concepts, which is the basic of everything. So once you go through these layers, basically database management, SQL courses, and then administration courses, then you can become a database administrator.
Okay. And what skills are required to become a DBA?
DBA is database management and SQL and database administration, performance tuning, and you should be able to know how to do backups. You should be able to know how to do anything that relates to anything that's required to maintain a database and make sure it's functioning well.
So, is there coding involved?
Coding in terms of not like C++ or Java and all, but there is some level of coding that is required. That is a part of SQL training.
Okay.
Uh, Database, I'll give you an example like Oracle. There are a few major databases like Oracle, MySQL, Postgres, SQL Server.
Mhm.
All of them use SQL language to query the data.
Okay.
Somebody wants to create some sort of a program that runs against a database, you need to be able to write that piece of code. It could be just small snippet of the statements, or it could be a long program also. And the long program is in Oracle is called procedural language, PL/SQL. But definitely learning SQL is a basic for any database that you query. That's a
Okay.
must.
And what challenges do database administrators face in their jobs?
Uh, I can speak for myself. Performance tuning is one thing that comes up very often because nowadays every single thing that we use requires data. Whether you use phone, whether you use Twitter, whether you use Facebook, and every small entry that one person makes creates data. And there are millions and millions and billions of rows that go in the database every single day. So performance tuning is very optim. Security, database security is another challenge that you need to be constantly monitoring, that nobody should be able to access Anju's data or Aishi's data. I, so those are the kind of things that a DBA needs to be on top of, and those are challenging also.
And how are job prospects for entry-level professionals?
Since this field itself is so vast, its data is always in demand. I think right now everything is comes back to data. Like I said, IoT is there, machine learning is there. Now, since this field itself, the data itself is the core of every single business, that ensures that the jobs are there and they will be there. So basically, entry one can start with entry level job and grow into the more senior level roles. I think this is a very good field to get into.
And what do you think about long-term growth, job growth?
I totally the long term, since data is in the middle of everything, or there's no business in the world today that can survive without data. As
Mm-hmm.
long as data is going to be there, databases will be there. As long as databases will be there, the jobs will be there.
Yeah. Okay, and what kind of starting salaries are there?
Uh, I I'm not very up to date on the starting salary, but I would imagine the junior DBS could start from $45,000 to $50,000 or so. Uh, I don't have the latest numbers with that, but I would imagine they would start with that.
Okay. And how's work-life balance?
Well, the databases, since they are round the clock, they don't stop working on weekends or nights. So occasionally there could be work. However, companies do have work rotation schedule. Basically, a lot of people they will work on the weekends and not on weekdays and things like that. The work is there. It works 24 by 7. Database are running, so work will be there. One has to strike life balance with that.
Okay. And lastly, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be a DBA eventually?
Well, I can speak for myself how I did. I did a few courses, different courses, and I liked databases to be the best. And since I like databases to be the best, I went after that. So my suggestion to anybody starting out would be take a few courses online, or as it may, like there are a few online education portals, training portals. See if you can take SQL training, see if you can take database administration training, and see if you like that, if it resonates with you and that's the kind of thing you want to do. uh, just go for that. And if you like it, this field is very good. Data science, that's also related to databases. So there are a lot of avenues that can open up for you if you take trainings like SQL and things like that. So that's the advice I would give. That's how I started. Like I said, I did multiple courses. I like databases to be the best, and I it's been 20 years. I'm still in databases. I like it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here today, and I sincerely appreciate your time, Anju.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here.